Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Halo Chronicle. This is part 5 in my First Strike series. If you've not seen the previous parts, I suggest you check those parts out before today's video. Links will be provided in the description below. Let's recap last week's episode. The UNSC became extremely desperate to get a win after a near 28-year-long battle with the Covenant, in which 2/3 of human-controlled space was lost. They decided that they would need to pull out all the stops in their next battle to get a win and improve morale. Commander Keyes of the UNSC ship the Iroquois would discover Covenant forces invading a system around Sigma Octanus IV. After a battle in which Keyes was outnumbered 4 ships to 1, the Iroquois was triumphant and forced a single remaining Covenant vessel to flee. The Covenant would send several hundred dropships onto Sigma Octanus IV to begin a ground invasion. Keyes was reinforced by a strong contingent of UNSC forces. He was then promoted to captain. A new, larger force of Covenant vessels entered the system and prepared to engage the UNSC forces. While this was taking place in orbit, the Master Chief and his Spartans were sent to Côte d'Azur, Sigma Octanus' capital city, to engage the ground forces of the Covenant. Chief would lead a reconnaissance mission in which he would uncover the truth on why the Covenant was in this system. The Covenant set up a headquarters at the city's Natural History Museum. There they found a rock with hieroglyphic symbols of an unknown origin. The Covenant began scanning this rock and sending a signal into space to be picked up by the Covenant ships. The Master Chief and the other Spartans defeated the Covenant forces and retrieved the rock. After gathering the survivors and escaping, the Chief would set off a Havoc tactical nuclear device and destroy Côte d'Azur and all of the remaining Covenant forces on the ground. In the space battle above, Keyes and the other UNSC vessels engaged the Covenant Armada. In another brilliant tactical move, the UNSC ships used a cradle repair ship as a shield. This bought them more time to hit the incoming Covenant vessels with their MAC cannons. After a long and difficult campaign, the UNSC finally got their complete and total victory. Now that I have recapped last week's episode, let's jump into today's material. After the Battle of Sigma Octanus IV, the UNSC gained a renewed level of confidence. This level of confidence allowed them to consider an ambitious plan, but before they could put this plan into motion, they would need to make sure that the Spartans were up to the task. The Master Chief was summoned to a secret military base on planet Reach. Reach was seen as the military hub for all UNSC forces. It also housed the largest naval shipyard. On Reach, the Master Chief would meet up with Dr. Catherine Halsey once again. This time, Dr. Halsey had a big surprise for the Master Chief: a significantly upgraded Mjolnir suit. She stated that the Master Chief was there to demonstrate the effectiveness of this new suit and to prove to UNSC Command that the Spartans were ready for a critically important mission. The new Mjolnir suit came with 2 major improvements. The first was energy shielding. UNSC personnel, including the Spartans, were able to gather Covenant shielding technology from battlefields. Oni was then able to reverse engineer this shielding technology and improve upon it. They were then able to implement it into the Mjolnir platform. After being fitted with the suit, Chief was hit with an electric charge that enabled the new shielding system. Within a few minutes, the Master Chief was able to master the new controls. The next major improvement was artificial intelligence integration. The new suit came with a port that an AI could connect to, much like a UNSC ship. The AI could then use the communication equipment and the suit's architecture to assist the wearer in combat. After explaining this to Chief, Dr. Halsey would give him an ultimate weapon. She would connect an AI cord to the back of the Mjolnir helmet, and the Master Chief was introduced to an AI named Cortana. Following a brief time of getting to know Cortana and testing his new suit, the Master Chief would be put through an obstacle course that was designed to test the limits of the new suit. The original obstacle course was designed by Dr. Halsey, but the UNSC brass made alterations to make it nearly impossible to complete. Chief was advised to reach the end of the course by any means necessary and ring a bell. The course started with the Master Chief being ambushed by a battalion of ODSTs, or Orbital Drop Shock Troopers. The Master Chief made quick work of these soldiers. He would then have to navigate a minefield with 50mm chain guns firing overhead. Cortana assisted him with determining the location of the mines. The final part of the test would be nearly impossible. A Skyhawk jump jet was raining down fire on Chief from above and was preparing to fire a missile. The Chief had only one option: deflect the missile. Using a combination of his enhanced reflexes, the Mjolnir systems, and Cortana's calculations, the Master Chief literally deflected the missile with his hand. He was still injured by the explosion, but he manages to reach the bell at the end of the course. This proved to the UNSC that the Spartans were indeed prepared to undertake this critically important mission. Sometime after this test, all but 3 of the Spartans would be recalled from forward areas and brought to Planet Reach for a very special mission briefing. Dr. Halsey would introduce Operation Red Flag. This mission would call for the Spartans to infiltrate, disarm, and capture a Covenant ship. Cortana would then use her infiltration software to assume control of the ship. They would then take the ship back to the Covenant capital world and capture a Covenant leader. Through intercepted transmissions, they believed that these leaders were called prophets. They would then bring one of these prophets back to human-controlled space where the Covenant could then be forced to broker a treaty. This was a last-ditch effort mission and the best solution the UNSC could find to end this conflict. The Spartans immediately volunteered and accepted this mission. To help the Spartans with this task, Captain Keyes was selected to take them to Covenant-controlled space. His experience with battling the Covenant would prove invaluable to this process. Captain Keyes would be outfitted with a refitted, highly advanced ship called the Pillar of Autumn. This ship would be equipped with the most advanced reactor and weapon system the UNSC had at the time. In fact, it sported a 3-round burst magnetic accelerator cannon, which was the first of its kind. This mission would be seen as suicidal, but the UNSC thought it was their best chance to survive. Humanity was down to their last handful of worlds, and at the rate the Covenant was progressing, it would just be a matter of time before they found the human capital world, Earth. The crew would begin preparing for their journey immediately. The Pillar of Autumn was in final preparation mode. Keyes would board the ship and find that the Spartans were already aboard and preparing their equipment. Cortana was installed as the ship's AI, but this was supposed to be temporary. The Pillar of Autumn actually supported 2 artificial intelligences. The second would be brought online after leaving Reach so that Cortana could accompany the Spartans. The Pillar of Autumn would begin her journey by leaving the Reach spaceport and charting a course for the system's edge. Just as they were about to enter slipspace, an emergency message would reach the ship. This message would bring grave news. Covenant forces were detected on the edge of Reach's system. The Covenant found the UNSC's last stronghold. All ships were recalled to engage the enemy. The Covenant would enter the system with over 300 vessels. This is going to complete today's chapter of this story, but before I wrap things up, let's talk about some interesting bits of lore tied to today's video. The inner workings of the Master Chief's Mjolnir suit are not very well detailed in the Halo games. The suit we discussed today has shield emitters located at multiple points, including the palm of his hands and the bottom of his feet. When Chief first puts on the suit, he has to learn how to adjust these emitters so that he can walk properly and hold weapons. When selecting a crew and a ship for Operation Red Flag, Halsey turned to Cortana. Cortana actually selected the Pillar of Autumn to undertake this mission. She did this due to its honeycomb structure. The Pillar of Autumn could take major damage and keep going due to the amount of bracing that filled the ship. The Pillar of Autumn was a Halcyon-class UNSC light cruiser. This type of ship had a short service life due to the high cost needed to maintain it. To make things worse, the ship was seen as having poor maneuverability and not enough battle plating, but in the end, this ship would be seen as one of the most important in the history of the UNSC. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. If you have any thoughts or questions about today's video, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Next week's episode is a pivotal event, the battle and eventual fall of Reach. Thanks for watching again, and I hope to see you guys next week.